Today we are going over estimating, but I do have best in class approach on the screen because that is how we like to look at our pre-construction products. And Sage estimating being, I would say, the middle piece of that. And you can see on here, I have e-takeoff, dimension, and bridge. Those integrate into Sage estimating, and every other month we do webinars on them as well. But today we're going to go over estimating 18.12, and keep in mind there are two versions of Sage estimating. You have your core and you have your core plus. And as I go through the demonstration, I'm going to point out what our core plus features, because there's really only a handful of things that separate the two. This just kind of shows you the workflow. Again, start off with takeoff, but then we get into our estimating. And like Tim mentioned, we have some existing, but also some new customers on here. One of the nice things about people that get into the Sage family, whether starting with estimating or accounting, if you have Sage accounting, Sage estimating flows right into the job cost. So really, you can have a nice streamlined process from the get-go. All right, so we are going to jump right into Sage estimating. Here I have an estimate already open, and we're going to visit that in a second, but I wanted to take you guys from starting a new estimate through. So as we're opening up a new estimate here, a couple things are going to happen. One, I'm going to name my estimate. Two, the first time I open up Sage estimating, it's going to ask me where I need to save my estimates. And you can do a couple things. You can save them on your local hard drive, or most people put estimating on a server. So you can create a file on your server that will save all your estimates. Next, we have our databases. Now, mind you, you guys are probably going to pick one pre-canned database. As you can see, I have quite a few depending on what we're demoing. And today I'm going with a GC database, so I can just have a nice broad view of all the divisions and products in there. Next, we have a details page. So if you want to fill out various details of the job, you can. So when we initially get into, and we've created what our estimate is, we get to a blank screen, because initially we do have to do a little bit of setup. The estimating software doesn't know what you want to see or how you want to look at your estimate. So you can see I have my columns here. Well, first thing we're going to do is go into our layouts. Now I'm going to hit add. I'm going to name it, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to put a check mark of everything that I could possibly want to use. And we've done we actually have 138 ways that we can look at our estimate. I know that's overkill, but on occasion you may need to have a couple, and others you may not need. But you can see we go through, we have our phase, we have our cruise location, then we start getting into labor. And you can see we have a lot of different ways to look at our labor. Then we dive into materials. We have a lot of different ways to look at our materials. And then subs. We have a lot of different ways to look at our subs, because it seems like more and more GCs are not self-performing work, or they self-perform a very small percentage and sub the rest out. Next, we get into equipment, and then we have others in case we miss something, or you want to use it and then name it something else at the top of the column here. And then we get into totals, and we give you a few other ways if you want to get really granular with your estimate, and you can pick floor, building, construction stage, what have you. But then when I get done, I click OK. It's going to pop up as demo, and then I can do a couple things here. If this is what I want for my default estimate every single time, I can click that box. Or in a lot of cases, when a company buys multiple uses of estimating from us, they want to standardize on their estimate layouts. And so you'll notice there's a shared box. So if I want to click shared, then anyone that has access to estimating will have access to that layout. Once we get our layout, next we have our tabs down below. These first three are set in stone, but after that, you can go in and take a look at your sequences. And really, this allows you to have the various views of your estimate. So if you want to look at specifically assemblies, or in this case, my job class layout, our alternates, or if I want to add something in here, and again, I go into my details, you know what? I'm going to pick subcontractors. I sub everything out, and you can see it's going to put that in there. Okay. And then if I go all the way to the end, I have subcontractor. So it gives you a lot of different ways to look at your estimate. Plus, one of the things when we dive in here, you're going to notice a very similar look and feel to Excel, which even today, Excel's our biggest competitor. More people that use Excel than anyone else. Sage Estimating, we're number 2. So we're going to dive in real quick. We have 3 different ways we can do takeoff. We can do items, assemblies, or models. Now, again, I said I was going to point out things that are only in Core Plus. This models feature comes in our Core Plus. Now, the big thing about doing any type of takeoff or creating your estimate is picking the correct database. Now, a lot of people say, oh, Sage is geared really for general contractors. We do well with general contractors, but again, you would pick a GC database. But if you are, say, concrete masonry, we have databases specific to that. If you're, an MEP, I have MEP databases. So we have a lot of different ways we can help your business. We don't just help GCs. A lot of subcontractors have our estimating product as well. So when I come into my items, it's going to pull up my folders. And you can see here, I have an older database, 16 divisions. All the newer stuff is 48. But if I want to come in and just pick something up really quick and say supervision, we're going to put a superintendent on the job. He's going to be there for 12 weeks. Enter, okay. I can move on and I can put my next item in, or I can close it out and I can take a quick look. Okay, there's my superintendent, 12 weeks, and that's a great wage. And there's my amount. Now, really though, how I like to use items, if I'm going to hit click, I'm going to click quick, I'm going to hit search, and then if I need to find something, say wire, it's going to bring up all the different wire items in my database. If we want to look at drywall, brings up a few things there. Everything for roofing brings it up there. But it allows us to navigate the items within our database much, much quicker doing it this way. But really, when you start to see the power and efficiency of Sage Estimating, that's when we use our assemblies. Now, if I go into my assemblies here and I'm going to choose concrete. Now, I want to point something out here. With our assemblies, and if I click on simple here, simple asks me for one thing. What's my linear length of this foundation? Say 50 feet. Hit the plus button. And then these items right here are what make up this assembly based on my linear feet there. It says, okay, this is how much of everything else I need. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to put it in my estimate. Now you notice there's a moderate or complex. And the reason I'm showing you this is because with assemblies, it can be something as simple as you want square footage so you can get cubic yards, or you want to know how many linear feet of wire you need to run for cable you're running. But also coming in here and showing you what a more complex assembly looks like, there's more questions. We answer these, and then also when I come down here, there's more items that make up this assembly. Now you'll notice it kept the 50-foot length I put in there. We'll leave that, say 20 feet, depth 1 foot, depth of concrete 8 inch, number of steps, say 3. And then it's asking, do you want to do this, yes or no? We'll say no. Here we'll say yes. 4,000 PSI is fine. I'm going to add plus, and again, it's going to fill out everything based on the information I put in there. Now, if I get back to my estimate, we can see in our group and phase everything that's set up here. But if I want to go look at my assembly view, we can take a look and see specifically what we put in. And here's our foundation simple and our foundation complex. Now, one thing I want to point out too, with databases that you purchase for Sage Estimating, and Sage has been doing estimating now for 30 years. And we do not pre-build databases that come with our program. And they learned this a long time ago. The reason we don't is because it would be a very generic, generalized database. And in most cases wouldn't be a good fit for your business. And in that case, if we gave away a database, you'd be at the mercy of it and be garbage in, garbage out. What we do is we try to match the best database with your business. And in this case, you're going to get items and assemblies with that database. Now, one of the things that we do very well is we allow you to customize this database. So it can grow or shrink with your business. And when I say shrink, maybe you guys turn and focus on something else rather than focusing on 4 or 5 different things. So we can customize our database a couple different ways. Now, you'll notice how I go to my data tab pretty often, because this is where a lot of the editing happens. Right over here under the elements, here's where I can edit or create new items for my database. In my assemblies here, this is where I can create new assemblies. And I can either type in new items with the equations I want, or I can pull existing items from my database, or even copy existing assemblies I might want to change. Or once we put something in here, if I want to just right click and edit this particular assembly on the fly, I can do that. And I can come in here, I can right click, I want to delete this row, no problem. So that is a huge benefit when you start looking at your database, because for the databases Sage offers, you are going to be in charge of updating the pricing, you know, growing your database for whatever you want to do, or editing it. And it seems like a lot at first, but that's one of those things that at the end of the demo, I'll talk about some consulting and what we recommend if you're brand new to Sage software. So the third way we can do our takeoff, and again, this is in Core Plus, is our models. Now, models are conceptual estimates. So if I come in here and we'll look at a building shell, and I click on this, it's going to open up, and you'll notice there's a couple notes right off the top, okay? And then there's a list of questions that have been pre-programmed, and based on information I put in these spots, they are connected to the assemblies and items that I have down here in the estimate. And so I can quickly add information, and I can spit out a nice conceptual estimate. Now, I'm gonna take you guys and show you an interior build out. And the reason I like this example is it shows you how you can even break up a model for very specific things. Here again, we have our notes, some general information, interior, wall, and ceiling requirements. And then we get into our wood and plastic requirements. And you can see over here, I mean, doors, cabinets, specialty requirements. I mean, they have it broken down to soap dispensers, mirrors. So, you know, you can create these models any way you want. And they're especially beneficial if you find yourself doing the same projects over and over and over, or projects that are very similar. And again, then we have all our assemblies and items that make up this model. Now, when I go back to my data tab, right here is where I can create my model from scratch. Or if I purchase a database that has some models in it and I want to use that existing model as a starting point, you can edit that model as well. All right. Next, just going to do some things here in our estimate. As you can see, I mentioned before, very similar look and feel to Excel. Now, if we ever need to make a change, because I mentioned you're in charge of keeping your prices up to date in your database. If you ever need to make a change, it's as simple as clicking and putting in the correct amount, hitting enter. And then if you want to update your database, it's very, very simple to do. I again go to my data tab. Right here is an update section. I can click on this, which is update from my estimate. And what'll happen, even though that was a specific item I chose to update the price in, it's going to update that item, and every assembly that item's associated to, it'll update the price. So you only have to do one update. Or I gave labor. If you want to come in here and same thing, update the material price, we can do that. It was asking for PSI there. But it updated the price. So next, I want to show you guys, and actually I'm going to have to insert a quick column here, which again, on the fly, we can upgrade our estimates right away. So if I want to come in here and initially when we install Sage Estimating, we have the ability to integrate your address book or contact list of subs if you want. And so if we come in here and we have all our data for self-performing, but we know we're going to sub this out, this is called my sub bid grid. And you can see, okay, hey, here's what we can do for ourselves. Now, I can go into my list of subcontractors, and you can see I have all trades here, but I'm going to do concrete, and I'm going to pick A to Z, and then I'm going to pick one more real quick as well, first two. And we get their bids, and let's say the unit cost here is less, and this one's even less. I've worked with both these concrete companies. They both have time to do the job. I'm asking them to bid. I'm going to use this subcontractor. And then it says, do you want to clear your prices or keep them? You know what? I'm going to clear them out. I'm going to close this. And then you can see it says A plus concrete, and it has highlighted in red their price because that's what we're going to use. So we have the ability to put all our sub numbers in here as well. All right. Really quick, we're going to get into reports. Now, again, these first three come with both Core and Core Plus estimating. If you want advanced reporting, that comes with Core Plus. I click on more, you're going to get all of this. But if we go in and take a look at a standard report, we can do a couple things. Anytime you see export, that allows us to export it to Excel. But if I go into my report options, it does give me a way to go in and print everything or select what I want to print from my estimate. And here I can have costs if I need to print something internally or create a report and email it off. Here I have my totals. And then also if we combine items or we have allocated add-ons, we can do that as well. Here's where we edit our front page, and then also we can sort what we want to put in there. You know, again, if you subcontract out a lot and you just want to put in your subcontractors, we can create a report to do that as well. And then we have ranges. So if maybe there's just a section of your estimate you want to print, you can, fonts, page setup, all that good stuff. When we preview, here's our title page, which you can customize this to have company name, logo, all that good stuff. If we move down, I just picked a very general what was selected, but you can see quantities, unit costs, amounts, and then it runs over to my totals and everything else because I didn't make it look pretty. But then we get down, the last page is our totals page and how we break that down. I'm going to cover that in a moment as well. Close out of that. And then next in our data, I'm just going to point out the location of some certain things that you may use for our phases here. If you get a database and you want to change the phases, we can do that through that button right there. Also, WBS codes. I know it's kind of a 50-50 on if you use them or don't use them, but you have your WBS codes here. This section right here for crews. Now, this is a part of Core Plus, but if you do self-perform a lot of work and you want to be able to put your work crews in here, it's really a three-step process. First, we go into resources. Now, the nice thing is this database actually already comes with a lot of labor put in here and equipment as well. So that saves us some time having to add and create it from scratch. But if you notice there's some equipment or labor that you need to include, you can go ahead and add it. We close that out. Next, we have our rate tables. And you can see this has already been filled out for us, but our total rate and base rate. And then you can see they put in mobilization, insurance, maintenance, fuel for equipment. If I go and I look at standard labor, again, rates, but then we have our medical. So that's one of the things that you can do with this crew is you can have insurance, you can have medical, and anything extra you have for your employees or anything you need to look at or keep tabs on for your equipment, you can do that. And then we actually can come up here and this is where we create our crews. And it's asking for a crew name. I'm just going to come in here and it shows me everything that's been created. If I just select this, and you can see once they've been created, you can put them in a folder hierarchy, and once they've been created, they'll be there forever. And you can add to it if you want, or if you want to do crews for an entire job, you can as well. All right, next we get over here to our add-ons. And part of that is I'm going to get into my totals page here. So once we get our estimate done and we want to look at it, and I can do a couple things. I have this docked right here. I can blow it up to the full size of my screen. I can put it on my second monitor if I want. But we always break down labor, material, subcontract, equipment, and other. We try to keep it very, very simple as far as just the initial things we're totaling. We have possible hours if you want to keep track of that as well. And then underneath here, if I click on insert, this is going to bring up all the miscellaneous things that we may have to put into our estimate, from insurance to a discount to sales tax, a fee, building permits, you know, what have you, you can put that in here. And notice here again, these were all 10%, but if I need to change something, I can just override it, hit enter. But why I wanted to show you that there, I have my add-ons right here. It's asking me if I'd like to change my total. Sure. But this takes me through all those add-ons that have been created. And if I need to I want to create one that I'm going to be dealing with constantly, I can go ahead and do that here in my add-ons. Also, though, I do have the ability to add or remove something, or I have a pull down if I want to insert a one-time add-on, you know, like it's some random city tax or county tax that I'm dealing with, something that, you know, in some place that I never do work, but just happen to pick up a job, you can put that in there as well. Next, a couple more things, and then I'll take a look at questions. But one of the things I like to point out in our totals is, especially people that are new to estimating software, normally you can think of 6, 7, 8 places where you're going to stick the majority of your margin on your job. Well, one of the things Sage does for you is I can look at my totals here and say, you know what, I know we can get this job for $45,000. Hit enter, scroll down. It gives me a variance, $8,000. Well, I need to spread this out. I'm going to come over here to my totals and notice a little red triangle, and that means a change has been made. But I want to point out something. I hold my mouse over it. It shows me my original total, and the adjusted amount was 21.7%. Now, if I go up to a large amount here and do the same thing right here, that's 21.7% as well. So it actually spreads out any extra profit or margin you might want to put in the job. We can spread it out evenly. Now, one last thing to show you guys here in our advanced tab, we have a couple things. Right off the bat, I had mentioned a lot of people that have Sage Accounting also have Sage Estimating. Well, here's the button that allows you to export your finished estimate over into job costs that resides on the accounting side of things. We also have our alternates over here. Now, the alternates, again, couple step process. First, I would come in here, I would set up the statuses I want to use. We put included, pending, in design, excluded. Now, simply, I can hit add, type those in. Also, though, they have import and export over here if you want to bring some stuff in from Excel. Because honestly, when we get into the alternates we want to include, here you can see I just have a couple that I've put together. Very easy. But if you have, some people like to get very granular. Again, we can export and import from Excel. Now, what that looks like is, and most of you have been doing this long enough that people like choices. So I can come in here, click on my alternates, and it comes down here and it shows me Alt-1, tile, and this has some flooring and carpet, and then Alt-2, and you notice because Alt-2, I had it highlighted and a line put through it just so you guys could easily see it. But then I have my base bid as well down here. And if I want, I have an actual summary of all my alternates as well. And it shows me what's included, pending, and on my base bid, what's included as well. So, you know, you have the ability to give your customers options when it's needed. So that is Sage Estimating. I am going to take a quick look at questions. It does not look like there are any. So I'm going to leave my contact information up here for you. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to email me, give me a call, or if this looks like something that might be interesting to you, give me an email. I can get you a quote, let you know about pricing, or if you want a demo for your estimating group, we can do that as well, and we can get a little deeper into the estimating product as well. And also, if you're interested in takeoff, feel free to contact me about that as well. I'm going to give you guys back a little bit of time. I hope you all have a great rest of the week and weekend. Take care.